I'm Ryan, licensed psychotherapist. Today we are going to be reacting to Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've heard just amazing things about this show. I want to see the characters, the interactions, and see what we can learn about therapy through watching these reactions. Let's get into it.
You will not be able to master lightning until you have dealt with the turmoil inside you.
What turmoil?
Zuko, you must let go of your feelings of shame if you want your anger to go away.
But I don't feel any shame at all. I'm as proud as ever.
Prince Zuko, pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame.
Oh, packing it in there. So one thing there, we all know this about psychology is that we can't hide our feelings. You can see Zuko here like, I'm not angry, and like the most angry and like twisted face you could think of. Don't try to hide your emotions. You can't. It doesn't work. They always come out in some way. So it's, my little heuristic that I'd like to say in the schools when I worked there was articulate your feelings rather than act them out. You don't get a choice. You do get a choice between those two things, but there's no like third option. So often it is better just own, accept that we are feeling something, and just kind of go from there.
But I don't feel any shame. But I don't feel any shame at all. I'm as proud as ever.
Prince Zuko, pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame.
True humility is the only antidote to shame. Yeah, I think I agree with Uncle Iroh. Um, the implication with humility is that you're flawed. There's no expectation of perfection. There's no expectation of anything. You're a human being and you're striving usually towards something or some kind of goal. But if there's an expectation that you have that you should be something there, um, that is where all of this kind of shame comes from, because there's a mismatch. Well, if I have an expectation that I need to be way up here, but if I feel like I'm only here and people are going to notice me. So there's just a clear distinction that I would like to make for people. Guilt is an internal feeling of that I have done something wrong, where shame is more of the feeling of I have done something wrong and I'm afraid someone else is going to see it. So it's more, it has a piece of the social judgment aspect to it. So a lot of the humility is just owning that I am who I am. I'm a human being with flaws, good, bads, ups and downs, all these things. And with humility, if someone notices when you have one of these flaws, you're like, yeah, I know I do. Of course I do. Because humility is just accepting that we are what we are, that we're not God, we're not way up here of this perfection, that we just have human flaws, human traits, and that, if you can accept that, shame tends to go down because you're like, well, yeah, of course I make mistakes. Of course I messed up because that's what I am.
Looks like you did some serious shopping. But where did you get the money?
Do you like your new teapot?
To be honest with you, the best tea tastes delicious whether it comes in a porcelain pot or a tin cup. I know we've had some difficult times lately. We've had to struggle just to get by. But it's nothing to be ashamed of. There is a simple honor in poverty.
There's no honor for me without the Avatar.
Zuko, even if you did capture the Avatar, I'm not so sure it would solve our problems. Not now.
And there is no hope at all.
No, Zuko. You must never give in to despair. Allow yourself to slip down that road and you surrender to your lowest instincts. In the darkest times, hope is something you give yourself. That is the meaning of inner strength.
So the scenes bring something to my mind that I see all the time with people, where you have this like mission or this goal in your life, and the future ceases to exist past the like achievement of that goal. So in this, it sounds like, all right, I'm looking to capture the Avatar, and Uncle Iroh just says to him like, hey, what are you gonna do after that? Like, well, like this doesn't actually solve all of the problems that are happening in this world, and it's very often in life, people do things like, oh, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna take a move. It's gonna fix all my problems. I'm gonna get a new job. I am going to break up with my girlfriend. I am gonna do all these things. but is that actually fixing your problem, or is that just one of the things in life that you're journeying towards? But often, it is so much more difficult to look. And we saw in one of those, to look inward and be like, what are my actual problems? And very often, it's not goal attainment. I don't. I would argue it's not often goal attainment that is the source of so many of our problems. I would argue interpersonal relationships, our relationships with our families, our communities, the people around us, and those are where I feel like we're often struggling. But very often in our society, it is I haven't reached my goals, and that is why I'm struggling. I don't have, in this case, a teapot. I don't have the nicest, newest thing, and that is my source of suffering. Rather than slowing down and looking inward and trying to figure out what actually is going on.
Here is your tea. You seem a little too young to be traveling alone.
You seem a little too old.
Perhaps I am.
I know what you're thinking. I look like I can't handle being by myself.
I wasn't thinking that.
You wouldn't even let me pour my own cup of tea.
I poured your tea because I wanted to, and for no other reason.
People see
So this is already such a cool scene. Talks that there's a lot of psychological stuff going on. So Toph here has this idea that like I can already tell it internalized this like idea of weakness. I'm assuming with her eyes like this that she's also blind in the show, and so has dealt with some real serious challenges her entire life probably. And so as this idea that people look down upon her, see her as weak. And you can see here, she already couldn't, because of this, she's like so on guard to be seen and looked down upon, and clearly doesn't like that. I would imagine it probably is very strong in other areas. So this act of Iroh giving her the cup of tea is seen as a sign of her weakness as opposed to he just felt like it. And this is a common thing that often happens in therapy is that, often I'll say something and people attribute a lot of meaning to what I had said in that moment is often, well, I said that because that's just what I happen to be thinking in my mind. I actually wasn't trying to like manipulate or alter you. But it's interesting that, there's someone like Toph here is like feeling like everyone is always trying to like do something or get something out of them. Often that is, I would argue, and the hot take here is that often that's because internally they are trying to get other people to see them in a certain light. So they're, trying to be overly strong. So anytime someone shows gentleness or shows some level of care to her, she's like, well, I don't want that. I want to be seen as strong as opposed to being seen as weak here. So oftentimes, we invite the behavior of others into our lives, sometimes not realizing it because we're so, afraid of being seen in some type of way. In this case, dependency. It's a normal human behavior. We all need other people in our lives. But very often, if you're uncomfortable with, you grew up in an environment where you couldn't connect and attach to someone safely, we often get this idea that no one's safe and I need to be strong on my own. And anyone even showing me care is them seeing it looking down upon me. We'll see how this continues.
And for no other reason.
people see me and think I'm weak. They want to take care of me. But I can take care of myself by myself.
You sound like my nephew. Always thinking you need to do things on your own without anyone's support. There is nothing wrong with letting people who love you help you. Not that I love you. I just met you.
So, where is your nephew?
I've been tracking him, actually.
Is he lost?
Yes, a little bit. His life has recently changed, and he's going through very difficult times. He's trying to figure out who he is, and he went away.
So, now you're following him.
I know he doesn't want me around right now, but if he needs me, I'll be there.
Your nephew is very lucky, even if he doesn't know it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Sharing tea with a fascinating stranger is one of life's true delights.
No, thank you for what you said. It helped me.
I'm glad.
Oh, and about your nephew? Maybe you should tell him that you need him, too.
Oh, there's so much cool stuff in this scene. So this is what they're talking about here is a belief that I also hold, which is so much of life is what makes life amazing and magical and wonderful are the people around us and creating mutually beneficial, or what I would say is win-win relationships. So often, I think, especially in our society now, we are so individualistic and isolated. And we have this idea like, I have to be able to do this by myself. But that makes no sense. Nothing we do is by ourselves. Everything we do usually has some insane long line of people that has gotten the product or the thing that we need to the place that we go and pick it up at. We can't do anything by ourselves. We live in a connected, interconnected society as human beings. And so, this idea here that Iroh's talking about, and they end up talking about, is this, that dependence isn't a weakness. Um, and very often you can learn the incorrect message that cooperating and working with other people is seen as, well, it means you're not good enough to do it on your own. Whereas I would argue that it's, to be able to work with other people, it has the courage to allow them to be them and sometimes not like them and sometimes disagree and then have to figure it out. But the end product of that is something much greater than any individual could do on their own, because you can't do anything on your own. We would die on our own. So this message of dependence is often something that people really struggle, especially coming from environments that weren't particularly safe growing up. I view the world as, well, it's just a bunch of enemies out there, and I have to keep myself safe, which again, I just think is incorrect for the most part. I think for the most part, you walk outside and you're going to try to do something cool, there'll probably be someone to help you if you asked. Very often we don't ask because we just assume that the world is against us. All right, that was The Last Airbender, my first introduction. Super cool. I could definitely see here why the show is so popular, the deep psychological stuff that is going on between the characters. You could see how these deep emotions could connect to us now in our real life as opposed to this magical world that they're in. So much cool stuff going on. So I want to watch more. And if you want to see me watch more and react to more, please leave comments down below. Let me know what you want to see, and I will see you all in the next one.